This is the Sean Hannity Show podcast.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Sean Hannity Show as we continue our top story today. The big debate that took place in Wisconsin last night. And joining us now, a man that I thought had some really great lines in the debate, especially back where I come from. We call that a lie. Dr. Benjamin Carson is with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. Thanks.
You know, it's amazing from when we last spoke, which was the day the Politico came out with that story. How that story's kind of been ignored now all of a sudden. They come out with a big splash, they change their headlines, they backtrack, but then they say they stand by their story. How about the old apology approach? You know, in other words, you can't stand by a story when you change the story that you originally wrote.
Well, you know, that would require integrity. So I don't think we should be holding our breaths waiting for that.
Yeah. How'd you feel about the debate last night?
I was very pleased. I was particularly pleased that, you know, the moderators were actually trying to get real answers.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that is something that we really haven't seen throughout this whole process so far. And hopefully it will set the new standard for how things are done.
I thought it was extremely substantive, and at times it became a real debate, which I enjoy because I like the back and forth. There are differences of opinions between the people on that stage. But, you know, you actually pointed out last night, I think it was Neil Cavuto, and he had a good comeback to you as well, when you said, hey, thanks for not asking me what I did in the 10th grade. This is what you said.
Well, first of all, thank you for not asking me what I said in the 10th grade. I appreciate that.
And you heard the crowd reaction. I mean, because everybody seems to get it. I think the media has been exposed in a way that we conservatives have been trying to point out now for a long time. I think people are getting it.
Yeah, it's been so obvious and so blatant that they can't even hide behind it. When I said, you know, have you vetted other people like this, particularly on the other side? Oh, yeah, we didn't. Yeah, but they know better than that. Everybody knows better than that.
I thought your argument that you made at that press conference, you really took the media to task about their lack of vetting of Obama. Now, we did it on this program, and I was told I was ending my career.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and what about Hillary? My goodness.
Well, I want to play that cut because this was an important moment. I actually thought one of the best moments in the debate last night. But,
you know, when I look at somebody like Hillary Clinton, who sits there and tells her daughter and a government official that, no, this was a terrorist attack, and then tells everybody else that it was a video. Where I came from, they call that a lie.
I mean, back where I come from, that's what we call it too. But, you know, could America elect a woman that 61% of Americans think is dishonest and untrustworthy?
Well, I think one of the reasons that, you know, that they are trying so hard to destroy my credibility is they are now recognizing that there's a possibility that I could be the nominee. And they want to be able to say, well, you see, they do it too. So they're both liars, and therefore there's equivalency.
So in other words, you think it's by design?
Yeah, absolutely. And but I don't think that people are going to buy that, quite frankly.
Yeah. You know, I've said this to you before, and I'm not trying to be insulting. I just kind of look at you as you are a surgeon. You are slow. You are methodical. You are measured. I don't ever imagine you in a debate getting loud or blustery in any way. I just don't see it fits your personality, and I can't judge you as somebody to be president in that environment. Does that sound ridiculous or unfair?
No, it's not, although it gets fairer with the kind of format that we had yesterday when you have actually 90 seconds to answer.
Yeah, I did like that better. That was a lot better. That did lend itself to a lot more substance and fewer people on the stage, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get further down the process and, you know, we get down to 5 or 6 candidates and we can really get into issues and have some good back and forth, I think that's going to be crucial.
One of the big issues that came up where I think the biggest area of disagreement was on the immigration issue. We all know where Donald Trump stands on it, and I think he makes a strong point. I also think Ted Cruz made a very good point last night when he pointed out, well, if the people crossing the border were journalists, that I bet they would, well, let me play it, so.
And I will say the politics of it would be very, very different if a bunch of lawyers or bankers were crossing the Rio Grande. or if a bunch of people with journalism degrees were coming over and driving down the wages in the press.
That was hilarious. Where do you come down on this in terms of how would you handle what is now a massive crisis in the country?
Well, first of all, I don't think it would be that hard to fill the borders. You know, I've been down there and witnessed it firsthand and know how successful they were in Yuma County, Arizona, in stopping 97% of the illegal traffic with the right kind of fencing and with first-time prosecutions rather than catch and release, and with actual border guards on the border. And we can do that. So stopping it, I don't think, is a problem, particularly when you turn off all the goodies so they don't have any reason to try to get across there. But in terms of the 11-plus million people who are here already, I would give them a defined period of time in which to get registered. It would be like 6 months. If they don't register during that time, they're criminals as far as I'm concerned. They have to have a pristine record. If they don't have a pristine record, they get deported. And if they do have a pristine record and they want to stay here as guest workers, they have to pay a back tax penalty and pay taxes going forward from this point on.
If they get to stay, would you allow a path to citizenship?
No, they have to work as guest workers in an area where we need guest workers. And
in a way, though, let me ask you this, and this is a debate the country's having, and I'm not asking it even for myself, just out of intellectual curiosity. If we let people stay, aren't we, in other words, really sort of rewarding the behavior in as much as, of course, we understand people want to come to this country, but our country has now paid billions and billions in terms of the impact on our educational programs, our educational system, our criminal justice system, our healthcare system. We have bore the brunt of taking care of people that didn't respect our laws and sovereignty. Now, even if they pay a fine, they still get to stay in the United States. They got what they wanted.
Well, if they're working as guest workers in an industry where we need them, like in the agricultural field, some of the hospitality areas where we have trouble staffing those with our own people, that is actually helping us. If all of those people were to disappear today, believe me, it would be an economic disaster.
I don't know if I believe that in this sense. We have 94.5 million Americans out of the labor force, 50 million in poverty, and we've got 46 million Americans on food stamps. Now, maybe it's because of my background, Dr. Carson, but I delivered papers, I washed dishes by hand, I bussed tables, I was a waiter, bartender, I painted houses, I hung wallpaper, I laid tile, I framed houses, I did roofing and reconstruction. You know,
but you're Sean Hannity. There's a lot of people out there.
But I was a poor Sean Hannity. I was dirt poor at that point in my life.
And they've been enculturated to accept, the goodies that are being given out to them. So you're not going to, one day grab all the illegals and send them out, and the next day all these other people are going to come and fill in. That's going to take years before that happens.
Are you almost saying that government assistance has caused them to atrophy in terms of their own capacity to enter the workforce?
There's no question that has happened. And more than 30 states, you can get more money from government benefits than you can from working a minimum wage job. So that's problematic. So that's why, other than the fact that it would be physically impossible to do, that I would allow guest workers to be here. They don't get to vote. They don't get citizenship. If they want that, that would have to be something that the American people would say, we want these people to be citizens. Otherwise, they have to go outside of the country and apply just like anybody else would.
I get asked a lot of questions about you. And you know what the main question is? People want to ask me, what do you think of Dr. Carson? What do you think? Do you think he has the temperament to be president? Because I think a lot of people see, for example, Donald Trump, high energy, go get him, urgency, etc. And you're like the opposite of Trump. And I don't know. My personality, probably, to be perfectly blunt, as a kid that grew up in Long Island, New York, is I move at a faster pace than you do. And I don't know that one is better than the other. I couldn't perform surgery, obviously, like you could. I wouldn't have the patience to stand on my feet that long.
Yeah, I would say.
But But people ask me that. Does that?
Yeah, I have to say, you have to say, who would you rather have? Somebody who can talk loudly and gesticulate a lot, or somebody who can actually accomplish very complex things that no one has ever been able to do before?
You know, one thing that I do say that I'm looking for the most in a president, because I think principles lead to great decision making. In other words, if you have a set of principles that you believe government's too big, bloated, out of control, well, that's gonna guide you in making budget decisions where you have to cut here, but not here.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anybody is really prepared for the presidency, no matter what your background is. I think
that's exactly right. What it really requires is wisdom and the ability to surround yourself with incredible talent, which we have in this country, by the way. Just some amazing people with incredible perspective. And, you know, if Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, said in the multitude of counselors of safety, then why wouldn't anybody lesser than him feel the same?
Let me play your closing remarks, because they were pretty powerful last night, and then I'll give you a chance to expand on them before we let you go.
In the 2 hours of this debate, 5 people have died from drug-related deaths. $100 million has been added to our national debt. 200 babies have been killed by abortionists. And 2 veterans have taken their lives out of despair. This is a narrative that we can change. Not we the Democrats, not we the Republicans, but we the people of America, because there is something special about this nation, and we must embrace it and be proud of it and never give it away for the sake of political correctness.
That was really a powerful closing statement. Did you see the 60-minute piece on Sunday a couple of weeks ago where, you know, these kids get hooked on these pain pills, and then the next thing you know, they're shooting heroin into their veins?
I heard about it, yeah. The addiction epidemic that's going on in the country.
It's just unbelievable.
Part of that is because we're missing the core beliefs that save you from that kind of thing. You know, the thing that allows negative peer pressure in, the thing that allows addictions to occur, is because there's an emptiness in one's soul and, you know, a lack of a compass that tells you who you are. And as the Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. That happens on an individual basis, too. If you don't have a compass show you where you're going, you become an easy victim for lots of things.
Yeah. Can I give you one chance to expand, too, on this whole idea? Every time people ask you about your economic plan, and it was a pretty funny moment when Neil Cavuto brought up the whole issue of your plan and whose plan was he comparing it to at the time? I don't really remember. You remember when Neil Cavuto brought up the plan about whether or not, you know, your plan is more suitable with God? Yeah.
Oh, the taxes.
Yeah, let me play that for you.
So whose plan would God endorse then, Doctor? Yours or Mr. Trump's?
Well, you know, when I say tithing, I'm talking about the concept of proportionality.
Right.
Everybody should pay the same proportion of what they make. You make $10 billion, you pay $1 billion. You make $10, you pay $1. You get the same rights and privileges. I don't see how anything gets a whole lot fairer than that. But
everyone brings up, oh, you're talking about tithing, and you really are trying to make a broader point. I want to give you the last minute to make that point.
Right. The broader point being that everybody pays the same percentage of their earnings. And that way your own personal biases don't enter the equation. So, you know, you let some people design it, and they'll say, well, people like Bernie Sanders, well, you know, if you've got, you know, $1 gazillion, then I should be able to have, you know, the vast majority of that, and you'll still have plenty of money. Well, that's not proportionality. That's his socialist tendencies entering the equation. Yeah. And so that's why I talk about a concept of proportionality, which is what tithing is.
You know, Dr. Carson, I always enjoy having you on. I really do. And, you know, I said this the last time. I don't think it's fair that people are bringing up, wow, you did this when you were 14. I'm like, the whole story is about redemption and transformation. And by the way, I had a lot more fights than you did with a kid, and we used to use our hockey sticks, too.
Well, don't ever run for office, then.
I'm not running for office. Who the hell wants to go through this crap that you're going through? I wouldn't want to go through this crap. It's unbelievable. I'm surprised anybody good runs for office.
Well, you're exactly right, and would discourage people, and that's why I've got to do it, and that's why I've got to succeed, because I want to make sure that everybody in America knows that you don't have to be a career politician to be successful.
I was very impressed with the debate last night. I thought that it was the most illuminating of them all and revealing. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean.